born on June 21st of 1989 in Rio Claro, Brazil. At age 11, I started training the sport that would shape my character and change my life. At 13, I received my yellow belt. At 14, I was yellow belt competing and winning against blue belts. At 15, I won my first world title in the adult division. At 16, I never lost a fight as a purple belt and again won the world championship. At 17, I moved up to featherweight and won the world title as a brown belt. At 18, I was promoted to black belt. At 19, I became the youngest man to ever win ADCC.
A huge moment for Rafael Mendes.
At 20, I won my first black belt world title. At 21, I won my second black belt world title and also became the youngest man to hold 2 ADCC titles. At 22, I won my third world title. At 23, I moved from a small town in the countryside of São Paulo, Brazil to Newport Beach, California, and found the art of Jiu-Jitsu with my brother and pet Tenori. At 24, I won my 4th world title and became a father, the most amazing feeling I have ever experienced. At 25, I won my 5th world title. At 26, I won number 6 and cemented myself as the greatest featherweight of all time.
Up until the point of winning their 4th world title, Rafa and Guy's careers looked very similar, but it was around this time they decided Guy was going to take a step back and focus on growing AOJ Academy, while Rafa would continue to focus on competition and go on to win his 5th and 6th world title. To me, this self-effacing decision on Guy's part played a big role in the development of athletes like Tainan Dalpra, Cole Abate, Jonathan Alves, Jessica Khan, and now even including athletes like Maisa Bastos and Taliesin Soares. We're obviously seeing the recent success of all their students, but what exactly is this recipe for success that the Mendes brothers found and cultivated over at AOJ? Well, it's a combination of the moves that they focus on and specialize in being a counter for the other move. The leg drag and the Berimbolo both counter each other, but they also build each other up. The other factor is the fact that they have a coaching and competitor role within the academy. If you've taught and competed at the same time, you'll know that one takes away from the other. If you're focusing on yourself too much, you're going to take away from your students. If you're focusing too much on your students, you're going to take away from yourself. So having a role for each one of the brothers is gigantic in the growth of not only them, but their academy as well. So in this video, we're going to cover a lot of the systems the Mendes brothers play, and we're going to piece those systems together, but it's important to understand that I can only show you so much in a video. So if you like any of these systems that we're covering, it's going to be on you after this video is over to dive in and learn more about them. I think the best place to start is with the Berimbolo. The Berimbolo is a rolling back take made popular by the Mendes brothers. Now, there's a lot of variations on the move and a lot of different positions you can do it from, but by far the most commonly used is from De La Riva guard. Now, I plan on making a more deep dive style video on the Berimbolo and the crab ride so you can really iron out some details there, but the general concept is you're going to sit your opponent down using both a strong De La Riva hook and a perpendicular angle. Once you sit them down, you're rolling under the leg, and then through a series of movements, you're either coming up on their back or coming up into a better position than you were in before. Now, if you're going against a newer person, the Berimbolo might take you directly to the back, but against more seasoned competitors, that's not usually how it works. It's usually going to take a little more groundwork after the Berimbolo is over to accomplish the back take. So how do we do this? Well, you're going to use either a crab ride, a leg drag, or some combination of the two to bridge that gap. We're going to talk more about the leg drag in a second, but you can think of the crab ride as a way to bridge the gap from the Berimbolo to the back. You can think of it as a way to switch sides on your Berimbolo. So if you're Berimboloing on the left side, you can use the crab ride to get to the right side and attack their weak side. Or you can think of it as a back take in and of itself. There's a lot of systems and athletes that really specialize in the crab ride, and there's a lot of other attacks out of there that don't really relate to the Berimbolo as much. If you watched my most recent Marcelo Garcia video, this is also technically a crab ride, so you can see there's a ton of variations on the move that aren't just Berimbolos. Now, the Mendes brothers use the crab ride very transitionally. They utilize more of a leg drag Berimbolo combo than a crab ride Berimbolo combo. If you compare them to athletes like Espen Matheson or the Meow brothers, you'll see those athletes fall back into the crab ride as almost like a safety position. The Mendes brothers don't really use it that way. It's just a quick transition to get to the leg drag or a quick transition to get to the back. Like I said before, I want to go deeper into the crab ride on a separate video, and I think Espen Matheson will be a really good athlete to use as a vehicle to cover that position. And if you want to study him on your own, or if you're watching this in the future and that video is out, any crab ride stuff you're going to learn is only going to add to the stuff we're going to cover in this video. To get back on track, I was lucky enough to learn the Berimbolo and the leg drag directly from the Mendes brothers at a seminar back in 2012, and I'm not exaggerating when I say this, the Berimbolo was a secret weapon for a few years. There would be maybe 2 people in any given division that had any understanding of the move, let alone an understanding of how to undo the move, and if you remember the first step of the move is to sit your opponent down, well 90% of people would just fall over and sit down on their own because they had no idea what was happening. But just like any other move, if you do it enough to people, people are going to start to catch on. Being that the Mendes brothers popularized the Berimbolo, they get a head start on counters, so they have the move down, so when someone else thinks up a counter, they just have to address that counter and keep building up the move. They don't have to completely change path. An aspect of this a lot of people don't think about is having a brother on par with your skill level allows you to endlessly recreate this loop of counters in the gym, which builds you up, but it doesn't build up your opponents. And they pass this battle down to their students, so their students are constantly countering each other, building each other up, but they're not building up their opponents. They're staying within the academy to build themselves up. It's a tricky balance because I'm really big on cross training, but there's also a certain aspect to where if you have a world-class coach that's on some world-class game, you can kind of separate into your own group and pull away from the pack a little bit. This puts the Mendes brothers in a unique position where they get to decide a lot of the moves the jiu-jitsu community is working on because they're so far ahead in this one area. So the rest of us have a few choices to make. We chase that area they're good in and always play catch up where we're one step behind. We try to carve our own path and do what they did, but that's gonna take a much better mind than I have, so good luck with that. Or I think the best option in 2023 is to steal the counters right from AOJ. For most of history, martial arts had this secretive, mystical element to it. You know, you go up on the hill and you train with the Kung Fu master from Kill Bill, and then you come down with some secret knowledge to beat your opponent. That's all gone. We're going over jiu-jitsu on YouTube right now, right? This is a great tool that we have that nobody throughout history had for martial arts, and we should really be utilizing it, right? We should be watching as much video as we can. We should be studying the best athletes in the world, and that's kind of my whole goal with this channel, is to bring forward those athletes that I've always studied and show you guys some of those techniques. One thing I'll always respect with the Mendes brothers is their willingness to let people see what's happening in the gym, and they don't have to do this. They could easily keep their gym under lock and key, not allow any filming within the gym, and the only time you'd see their counters would be in competition. But that's not really their MO. They'll often post 20, 30-minute videos of them on their YouTube channel for free, of them rolling with all their students, so you can just see and watch all their counters, and so much information to study. If you watch enough AOJ guys, you'll start to see a theme with how they defend the Berimbolo, and a lot of these things are habit-based, so you just have to have them programmed in your head and do them at the right time, like keeping good posture, following their angle, turning your lead knee out, undoing their De La Riva hook. These are all things to just prevent that initial step we talked about of them getting an angle and sitting us down. But past that, there's a key move that a lot of the AOJ guys use to defend the Berimbolo, and that's the leg drag. The leg drag has been around on some rudimentary level since the mid-90s. There's videos of athletes like Terere, Leo Vieira, Shaolin doing variations of the leg drag, but the way the Mendes brothers have changed and adapted it into a way to secure and control your opponent's hips mid-pass is completely unique. Just like the Berimbolo and the crab ride, the leg drag is its own system with tons of moves within that system and athletes that specialize in it, so we could spend all day talking about different types of leg drags, but if you've seen any of my other videos, you'll know that I usually like to talk about these things on more of a conceptual level. The general concept for a leg drag is a simple one. You're starting inside your opponent's legs, you're dragging one of their legs to the opposite side of your body, leaving both of their legs on one side. But why is this such a good counter for the Berimbolo? For one, the most common position to do a leg drag from is also the most common position to Berimbolo from. So if your best pass is from the same guard they're trying to play, you have a big advantage there. Second, conceptually, the act of doing the leg drag prevents the Berimbolo. There's a few matrix style back takes that break this rule, but for the most part, to Berimbolo, you need your opponent inside your legs. And lastly, it fits into the Berimbolo offensively. A lot of people think the Berimbolo is just a back take, but if you combine it with the leg drag, it can be a really good way to test the waters of the top position without actually coming up into your opponent's dangerous guard. So what exactly do I mean by that? A lot of times in jiu-jitsu, you sweep someone, you come up on top, they set up a guard and they sweep you right back. Or worse, they set up a guard and they submit you. So sometimes taking the top position directly off your sweep isn't always the best move, especially if you're gonna end the match right there and get submitted. The leg drag can be set up before you actually come up, so you can be sure that when you do come up, you're coming up into a decent position and not directly into their dangerous guard. I know everyone hates double pulls, but double pull specific rounds where you and your opponent start sitting down and you try to either come up to a leg drag or come up to a better position and not just stand up and pass the guard are really good ways to kind of practice this scenario here. This isn't very common among other athletes, but the Mendes brothers and their students often sweep and pass in succession. If you haven't seen my video breaking down how Tainan Dopra sets up his passing grips before he sweeps, I'll put a link to that on screen. I highly recommend watching that one. Just please don't judge me for butchering his name. Tainan Dopra. The Mendes brothers' choice in moves is very intentional. You have two brothers that develop two moves that endlessly counter each other. It creates this perpetual counter loop, not only among them, but that loop has now been passed down to their students to continue to cultivate. All this, along with some amazing timing, a little bit of luck, is all tied together by the insane work ethic the Mendes brothers have shown over the years.